potentially.
Why are Hinks Hawks special?
Because of the family atmosphere and how kind they are.
Oh, perfect. I'm a good friend because I care for them.
What makes Hinks special?
Hinks is a great place to learn. We love having our students here at Hinks. The students are engaged and they're active. The teachers are so supportive, and so is the rest of the staff. We know that they come here and they feel loved, and they're getting a great education at Hinks. So thank you for all your hard work.
What makes Hinks Hawk so special?
We are special because we take pride in our little community and strive for great heights.
Why are Hinks Hawks so special?
I would have to say because they always have a kind word to say to me in the mornings, and they wave at me in the hallway and ask me how my day's going.
Hey, why are Hinks Hawks so special?
It's because I like it. We made kites and we wrote our strengths and what we like about ourselves on them, and then we got to fly them with our younger buddies.
My mirror says that you're beautiful because it'll remind me every day when I look in it that I'm beautiful. And I designed it with lots of flowers because I thought they were pretty, and some pom-poms.
So what makes Hinks special?
I would say the small size of the school and all the amazing staff and teachers.
Good evening. Some of you I remember, some I see lots of new faces from when we started this years ago. On this side. Go to this side? Okay. So my name is Gwen Pettit. I am on this energy project that you're all been hopefully a part of. I think we started this in 19 when we started developing it. Some of you, I remember Stacy and Gordon. I think you're the only faces that I remember from back then. And then I have Dean Weber behind me, who is the service account manager for the K-12 on this side of the state. And we're going to just go through, I'm not going to take much of your time. I'm a teacher, but ex-teacher, so I don't really need this microphone, but I like to protrude. Okay, so I want to just give a brief overview of how we built this for all the new board members that haven't been here through the, maybe in the beginning, and what the process looked for and looked through. So how does the project work? Feel free to stop me if you have any questions, but because I was a kindergarten teacher, I like a lot of colors, so you'll see a lot of colors here. But it's a simple reallocation of your current utility dollars. So essentially what we did is we looked for wasteful spending or wasteful or inefficiencies in your utility bills that we could leverage for the upgrades that you've been seeing around the district. So that's kind of a short clip of, where are you have boilers that weren't working. There was a lot of those. You were spending money and time and material just trying to keep those running throughout the year, so that you could keep school in. Maybe it was light bulbs that you were replacing because they weren't LED. So those are the things that we came in and looked for and put a dollar amount to the savings, and then we guaranteed that savings. So this project was essentially, it was about a $1.7 million project. It was guaranteed, meaning, 7.1, what did I say? Oh, 7.1, I'm dyslexic. So 7.1, sorry. Guaranteed energy savings project. And if you can see up there on the top, the savings that we guaranteed, so meaning if we didn't follow through and meet this $250,809, we would have to pay you the difference, okay? So we have some pleasant surprises that we've come into that we'll get to at the end of this. But essentially, in the beginning of the project, that was the dollar amount we had to hit. as well as the $69,744 in operational savings. And what that was is just what I talked about. That was, are you spending in light bulbs? Are you spending in T&M? Those were from an average of your bills over a 3-year period. And that number actually came from the district. We poured through all your invoices and the money that you were spending keeping those pieces of equipment running, or that controls, or just T&M, emergency calls, things like that. So that was a dollar amount that came from you. So this project, what it included, and remember we're running alongside your voted school bond. So we were able to pull off whatever we can out of that voted school bond that would pay for itself, so that you could continue to pull things in. And who knew at that point, because that was early, beginning of the pandemic, that inflation was going to skyrocket as bad as it has. So the things that were included in this was energy management system, temperature controls, district-wide lighting and upgrades. So I looked around, the school looks great. Water conservation measures on buildings that may have, that did not have well. Some building envelope tune-ups, 8 boiler plant replacements, and that was a big overhaul. For those of you that were here, we did 8 boiler plants in one summer. And it was, hopefully you felt that right away, because that was a huge overhaul. And we use that as our standard now as we're building other jobs around the state. Walk-in cooler and freezer, that just some evaporator coils, replacement, things like that for your high school. Variable speed pumping and heating hot water coils. And then just there was other things that the district had. It might have been a new piece of equipment, like in Thunder Bay, where we went there, and I remember Kurt had a lot of issues with that newer building, and what we found is it wasn't piped correctly. So we've made changes like that throughout the district as well. So when you see various, those are the types of things that we found just weren't done correctly. Domestic hot water heaters. And then bus heaters. So this was the original. So bus heaters, and you ended up, first we were going to sell that building. So that was in the project originally. And then in the next slide, as we changed the scope, we got into it, we ended up taking that out because you were going to sell that building. Now I passed by there and I see that you haven't sold it yet. So we did take that out. And we took out also ACEs. Because you sold that building. And so you can see in the red up here, we deducted all the ECMs, which are energy conservation measures, so like the lighting and the water and the building envelope in those 2 buildings, because we thought those were going to be sold off. So we had to make adjustments in the contract. But what that did is free up other money that were earmarked for those, and we put that into things on the bottom here. You can see we added various more controls, because again, this project was built on savings. So we could only make it so big because savings were justifying the payment. So we put it in various DDC controls, that's HVAC controls, and then we did the Ella White crawl space as well, which was a needed, we found, I was just talking with Kurt, have you seen the difference? And yes, totally. So we were able to reallocate that money. So this is just a short matrix. You can see the stuff that ended up being in the project. Everything that I just talked about. We did take out also the hot water heaters. Yeah, we took that out because we picked up other things that were more necessary, and I think you picked up that other in the bond. So there was just a couple changes that we made after contract that just made more sense with you getting rid of those buildings. This is just a couple pictures, if anybody wants to know what an energy management system is and HVAC controls. So on your left, you have a picture of what controls this large equipment on your rooftops and in your mechanical rooms. The middle, again, 8 boiler plants was a huge overhaul. If you would have did that in your bond project, you would have been summers of doing boiler plants. We were able to do them in one summer, which is huge, obviously, for the district. Way less headache for Kurt over there. And then district-wide lighting. So we went through and we did at the time, if it wasn't LED, we made it LED. So depending on what it, where it was in your buildings, depending on how we made that retrofit happen. So some of the mechanical rooms, may have just got some tube replacement. But again, we didn't, some things that you're like, okay, well, what about the stadium lighting? Well, it doesn't run along enough throughout the year to actually justify for that replacement. So we didn't touch the stadium lighting or field lighting and the theater lighting because it just doesn't pay for itself in a time frame. So everything else we were able to do. So this is just, again, this just tells you, okay, what does lighting mean? Well, we converted everything to LED. You see that throughout the district. That saved lots of money overall. Water conservation, that's low flow devices, toilets, urinals, sinks, putting low flow sprayers in your kitchen, foot pedals, showers, things like that. Building envelope, that is caulking roof lines, sealing door sweeps so that you don't have to recondition your heat or cooling that you're bringing in the building. So you have some different installations that we did, exterior door sweeps, I got ahead of myself. And then of course, one of the biggest things that we added was the crawl space installation for Ella White. Controls and energy management system. So we did that over 10 schools in central office and transportation. What that is it's the way to keep your systems in your district most energy efficient. So we can do programming and scheduling and different things that you're not just, it's not just running while those big, large pieces of equipment. And some of the scope, it says see exact scope because it's probably more than anybody wants to know besides Kurt here. So, but that is in the contract. You can see exactly what we did. And then mechanical, I think I touched on all of them. The boiler plants, the walk-in freezers, walk-in coolers, the variable speed drives, and then the Thunder Bay repiping, and then just various other little onesie-twosies here and there. So, where do we land in our guarantee? This is the fun part, because for one thing, we left money on the table, unfortunately, because we were too conservative in our numbers. So we could have added a little bit more, when we see these numbers. Year one, you can see the performance period is from June 22nd, or 2022, through May 2023. And the savings is 234, that's what we were guaranteeing. What we actually verified and saved was 299,712. So you should see a $65,000, $225 excess in savings. So we actually, when I say we left money, that's more money we could have kind of used for more upgrades. So overall, in the total to date, the reason why it's a little higher is because there's construction year savings too that we accounted for. So, but overall right now we're 71,000 in excess of savings. So that's quite a big number when you escalate that over time, and that's how we build these jobs. And then how does that impact the environment? If anybody has been watching the federal government in the news, you see that everything is energy, surrounding energy right now, all the money that's out there that's coming down. So this is all about how you can save carbon footprint in your district. And as you see on the screen here, we have 1,967 metric tons of savings and miles driven by the average passenger vehicle. So that accounts to 5 million miles of savings. And then the 2,345 acres of forest for 1 year. Those are very large numbers. And then you can see on the bottom the kilowatts and the gas savings there. Recommendations. I'm going to let Dean take over here. Oh, did I start too soon?
Go ahead. I'll take the last one.
Okay, you can take the last. Okay, so the recommendations, just some things that you could still continue to do here to make it even more energy efficient and operational. And this is a lot not only for Kurt, which I know he's doing a great job at right now, but working together also for behavioral changes with your staff and teachers just on those energy initiatives. We're not talking about, teaching them to turn the lights off because we have occupancy sensors. They already should be doing that. But just raising and shutting blinds, things like that, there's other ways that you can combat. And I'm not going to go through this whole list, but there is other things that you can help with, and we'll work with Kurt on the HVAC side to help even further grab a little bit more savings, and make sure over the time period that you'll continue to save. Okay. Any questions? So, now you can have the mic.
Okay. So now the project is finished, is what can Train do or myself do to keep the buildings running as efficient as they are now, as they will in the next 5 years or 10 years also. And just because the project's over with doesn't mean Gwen's gone. She's still around, but I'm coming in now for the service side. So some other ways we can help is in the future is there's buying direct from us, cooperative purchasing. And Mary, I'm sure you're familiar with all that. And maybe you guys already use Omnia currently for maybe different supplies. But that's a good way to get what you want, pre-purchase things now because lead times are so far out. So that's one way we can help out with that. And then the Intelligent Services Agreement, which this is a, now that you guys have an updated control system throughout your district, we have analytics that watch your buildings to make sure things are working properly. So things are working great now, but things do get out of whack after a while. This system will help us to say, hey, this unit isn't working as efficient as it was today. So proactive approach is you guys put in 8 boiler plants. They're running great now, they're very efficient, but something may fail in 8 years. And even though the units are still providing enough hot water to heat, they may not be as efficient. And Kurt's a very busy man. He doesn't have time to look at every little point where this system is going to say, this boiler isn't run as efficient as it was before. How we know that is what the water is coming in the boiler, what's leaving the boiler. We know it's not as efficient. So that's just an example of proactive approach. That's what comes to drives energy savings is, not everything's air conditioned at the district, but some air conditioning is. So another example would be, yeah, the system is air conditioning, but based off refrigerant pressures. I won't get too much detail on how that works, but the pressures are higher. So it is cooling, but it isn't as efficient as it should be. And how do we address it? And we can, help Kurt out with that and his staff. Preventive maintenance also comes down to that too, is, what are the things that we can do to help out preventive maintenance? Again, his staff is very busy. It's a very large district. What can we do to help to offset some of his load to make sure everything is working as efficient as possible so you can get as much life out of that piece of equipment? And then capital planning improvements is we can come up with, you guys are upgrading a lot of boilers, a lot of air handlers, but there's probably still some things that you haven't been able to upgrade because you just don't have enough money in the voted bond, or maybe 5 years down the road. What we can look at is, should we replace this air handler or this one? We can help out with what's your best bang for your buck. This one we can limp along a little longer, but this one you should replace. So there's some things that we can help out with, the capital improvements down the road. And then drive staff efficiency. How can we keep doing ongoing training and support for Kurt's staff and making them as most efficient as possible? So any questions on that? And then a couple other things is dynamic air cleaners. I don't know if the board has heard about these or not, but we have talked to Mary and Kurt about it before, but they're air cleaners that improve indoor air quality. There are energy savings to it, and also they'll last 4 times as long as your current filtration, so you're not replacing filters twice a year. You could go 2 years without replacing the filtration. So that's an option that Gwen and I have a lot of school districts with these. So rental services, so I don't ever want to say it, but if something were to fail, we do have rental services. Typically we can get something here in 24 to 36 hours. That can be boilers, air conditioning, generators, anything like that. So we have a staff for rental services also. And then there is talk for solar. People probably know about solar, and there's some tax credits out there. Michigan isn't really great yet for solar. I have done solar before at Flushing schools, but if there's any interest in that, Gwen and I are here to help look at that. Train has a solar team to look into all that too.
And we did evaluate that in the beginning of the project. So just to keep that in mind, if it would have fit at that point, we would have probably did it. so for those that are being, there's a lot of talk about solar out there right now. We want to make sure that you know that we did evaluate it, but the return on investment was very long.
Yeah. And, there's other states that solar it does financially make sense, but there's state incentives in those, where Michigan doesn't have that yet. But we stay on top of that, and if it's something that makes sense for the school, we'll absolutely bring it to you. That's why we got the mics. And then lastly, there are some tax credits that are available for schools now that we can certainly help out with that too. So any questions?
And we're going to help with that. So we're done. So the gist of it is we're not going anywhere. We're still, we work and talk with Kurt and Dave and Mary quite a bit. So we're here to help. If if there's questions, if there's anything else to be evaluated, I know, we're a partner for you. So we just want to make anything out there like, hey, I wonder if we should do it. Give us a call and we can help evaluate that for you. I know we've talked about the transportation building in the past and different engineering things that can certainly help with the district. So we appreciate you doing the project with us. I mean, I hope it was a success for the district. Right now, with the positive cash flow of $70,000+, I mean, that's I hate to say it, hopefully back in Kurt's back in Kurt's budget. But we are very grateful that you did our project with us, and I hope, I hope if you are able to give us a good reference. I know we send people this way to talk to the board members. I know some of the people that were here back in the beginning, where we passed this through the COVID era, which was a little crazy and hairy, but the project came out great, and I hope that it wasn't, was successful for the district, and especially Kurt, who runs around with his hair, on fire. So, any questions? You have the actual M&V report, so we'll come back next year, and we talk to them throughout the year. So we'll come back again and say, okay, do the same thing, maybe not as in depth, but here's what our year 2 savings is, for a year. We have a 5-year at this point. If at any time you say, hey, I want to add it for the next 15, you can do that. That's part of our contract. But right now, we're in very positive light here, so I don't expect that to change. Any questions?
Actually, I have a comment and a question. This is the sort of story you might not necessarily hear, but I really want to thank the district, thank you folks, and Kurt for having the vision to proceed with the conversion of the lighting to LED. I wasn't on the board at this time, but I had a kid who was very, very sick.
Oh.
And one of the issues which did not be exposed to very much heat rays. And it started with Samuel, which converted the room that she was going to be in over the LED. And so that was like a sanctuary. One place she didn't have to wear her UV blocking hat. And sunblock and UV clothing. So she had a sanctuary there. She didn't have to worry about that. So that was really
That's the first I've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to know.
And who knows how many kids who are helping who have these underlying conditions that can get all those winds
Right. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Right.
Many of them seem to be, that's my comment. My question is, in your environmental opinion, have you ever tried crunching the numbers instead of like miles driven by passenger cars? Have you ever tried crunching it by celebrity jets on their way to climate conferences, the environmental damage that does? I just think that would be extremely interesting.
So, no, but we know what you're talking about. So our job is to make the buildings more efficient based on what you have now, but I know exactly where you're going with that. So, but we appreciate you saying that, because a lot of times we do these lighting, like when we switch over to LED, and it could be sound as well. In like some of the districts that we have on Char M, for instance, they have a special ed, and so the autistic rooms, when the kids grow and they move from room to room, we can adjust the light levels, right at the switch. in some of those. So there is things that we've heard before, but I've never heard that. So I appreciate you telling us. That's a good story to tell. And another thing, there is going to be a white paper coming out. I was hoping it would be done by today. And I know we worked on it with Dr. Rabideau here. And when it comes out, we'll certainly pass it on to you, and bringing light to the district and all the positive things that you're doing, because a lot of times we know from our marketing side that the district and the board and the teachers and the administration are always facing all the turmoil, right? That's what comes to light. It isn't the positive things that you're doing. So hopefully we'll be able to market that for you as well as you can market it yourself. And if anybody's going to the board conference in 2 weeks, we will be presenting there as well, and then we have an event on the Friday night, so if anybody's going to.
Thank you so much. Anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to, the train did spectacular work. We've been in that area right now looking at project management and all of that, and they stood out from the beginning, heads and shoulders above everyone else. The attention to detail, follow through, advocating for the district, and just helping us out. I think Kurt, you would agree, and Mary, that it was an outstanding experience. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, up next we have a moment for citizens and delegations to address the board. Did you want to read that letter or address it?
Okay. Yep.
Sure. All right.
So the board did receive a letter from Mr. Daniel Wakeman. It was said, "Dear Ms. Reynolds, the following are a few questions to be addressed by the superintendent and the board. The Alpena Public Schools Strategic Plan 2020 is posted on the system website. While a mission statement is traditionally a long-term affirmation of the purpose and existence of an organization, aligned goals typically have metrics to track progress and are revised and refreshed to reflect the ever-changing environment. What is the status of refreshing/updating the goals/actions in the Strategic Plan 2020? As a follow-up, what process and who are the stakeholders engaged in addressing the plan? I'm looking forward to the response at the board meeting October 23rd. Thank you for allowing questions. Daniel Wakeman." And I guess I would respond to the timing of that is quite appropriate, as we've been talking about exactly that, and finding some metrics to put in there is also looking at our strategic plan. So the answer is it's currently going on, and we'll have more information to share with the community as we move that process forward.
Yep, I responded to the email that we don't typically answer questions at board meetings, but relayed that we were in the process of a new strategic plan, so it was very timely. Any other citizens or delegations who'd like to address the board? Okay, seeing no one coming forward, we will move on to the approval of consent agenda items. I know Dr. Lawson had something.
Yes, if you don't mind, I would move.
Can you turn your microphone on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I would move to approve the consent agenda with a change to one item, and that would be in the October 23rd, no, I'm sorry, the October 16th, 2023 workshop meeting. The change of, I guess it would be the sort of the second paragraph on page 2. I would change it to a minor revision to policy 2370.01, removes the word as opposed to the work.
Yeah, just a
It says
typo.
work instead of word. I would just suggest that change.
Support. Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Lawson with one change and support by Stacy. Anything further? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. All right, up next, additional business requiring board action. We have the policies in front of you that we're had looked at for first reading and are up for second reading. We're gonna, if you have a minute, to pull out policy 2370.01. It is the yeah, that online blended learning program. Dr. Ebido and I talked today in conjunction with Jenny Myers at the partnership, that she had some concerns about how it worked in terms of the online offerings at the partnership, and some other issues, typos maybe, or things that probably should be looked at, and so I thought it'd be smart that we pull this one back out until we can make sure that those who work with the most online population, being Mrs. Myers and Matt Poley, have a chance to make sure it aligns with what they know to be. So other than that, I would make we could make a motion to adopt the policies excluding the online blended learning program for approval.
Support.
I guess Stacy supported, I made the original motion, I suppose, to adopt the policies as presented, excluding the online one to pull out for further review. Stacy supported. Any further conversation? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, show of hands. Thank you. Up next, new business, human resources.
Is this the one?
Yeah, I think if you just pull it down. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm pleased to announce 17 new hires this month for support staff. We have Ryan Spencer, custodian, Alpena High School. Tiffany Oliver, instructional assistant, Besser Elementary School. Billy Miller, instructional assistant, Besser Elementary School. Haley Lesage, instructional assistant, Thunder Bay Junior High School. Betsy McCormack, elementary office assistant, Wilson Elementary. Ashley Ann Ryan, instructional assistant, Hinks Elementary School. Wendy Springs, instructional assistant, Ella White Elementary School. Chloe Limcool, instructional assistant, Thunder Bay Junior High School. Corey Alexander, instructional assistant, Thunder Bay Junior High School. Andrew Kuznicki, instructional assistant, Alpena High School. Andrew Aegis, instructional assistant, Besser Elementary School. Isaiah Lowe, cafeteria aide, Alpena High School. John Primsreeder, cafeteria aide, Alpena High School. Michaela Zarski, office assistant, Thunder Bay Junior High School. Thomas Tudor, custodian, Alpena High School. Heather Bogsey, office assistant, Float, Alpena Public Schools. Rena Sadler, instructional assistant, Alpena High School. For resignations, we have Megan Gauthier, assistant superintendent for K-12 curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Annette Sauls, dispatcher, Alpena Public Schools. Brooke Broniak, transportation director, Alpena Public Schools. Shauna Bowe, instructional assistant, Lincoln Elementary School. And Wendy Springs, instructional assistant, Ella White Elementary School. Thank you.
Gifts.
Yes. Janet Croninger donated a winter upright piano valued at $500 to Sanborn Elementary School. Northland Credit Union donated 4 bags of candy valued at $60 to be used for kindness bingo prizes at Thunder Bay Junior High School. St. Paul Evangelical Lutheran Church donated school supplies valued at $150 to the Lincoln School Success Program. Besser Elementary School received
$173 from an anonymous donor to be used for their Besser Literacy Night event. Lincoln School received $100 from Tarkington Family Dentistry to be used for their Reading Night event. Uncle Mike's Chicken donated $100 to Besser Elementary School as a general donation to the school. Linda and Ralph Bolda donated $200 to Aces Academy to be used for McKinney-Vento homeless student needs. Don Schultz donated $25 to Aces Academy to be used for a specific McKinney-Vento homeless students' food needs. Thunder Bay Electric Incorporated donated $200 to the AHS Athletics Girls Varsity Swim Program. Alpena Booster Club donated $500 to the Alpena High School Athletics Girls Varsity Swim Program for equipment. Beyond Horizons Tour and Travel donated $84.67 to Ella White School for Mrs. Kraft's Scholastic subscription. Real Estate One of Alpena donated a book valued at $18.99 to the Lincoln School Library. Hungry Howie's donated 15 pizzas valued at $120 to Lincoln Elementary for the Reading Night event. And I would move to accept the gifts listed above with gratitude and thank the donors in writing for the generous gifts.
Support.
We have a motion on the floor. Any further conversation? Hearing none, all in favor, show of hands. Okay, we're at the second opportunity for citizens or delegations to address the board. Okay, seeing nobody. Information and proposals, letters and communications, I think we already covered that. Reports and information from the superintendent.
So there's a lot of great things going on. I reported to the board this weekend. I've been visiting with the building PACs, parent advisory committees, and I had my superintendent parent advisory committee in the past 2 weeks, and every group has reported to increased participation significantly so. So that's absolutely wonderful, and that our parents are coming out and being a part of that process. Transportation, you see some key personnel there resigning in transportation. Again, we apologize for the inconvenience that families are going through with these cancellations. It is in large part due to illnesses and those sorts of things, but we're also losing people in that department as well as any department. And most importantly, transportation, special ed, I think are the two big areas across the nation and state where we're facing staffing shortages. They're challenging jobs like so many are, but we're just getting hit in these particular areas. So I asked the communities and board members and all staff members that are being inconvenienced by bus cancellations, to show some grace with our transportation department, because they work very hard. They have a challenging job, and we need them on the job, getting our kids back and forth safely. I do want to also let you know that I've organized on November 1st, it's not an open meeting, but we've reached out to all the local human support organizations. We're pulling them back together. Many of them did the mental health panel in May. We're bringing them back and more to really start putting some plans to how do we connect our students first, our staff, and then the community to these resources that our families and students are so in desperate need of. So that's going to be November 1st, and we're just getting together to see how we can formalize some sort of process that, it's not just a pick up not a phone book, because nobody uses phone books anymore, but, give this number a call. We really want to be able to connect people in need with those resources. And so I'll have more to update on that. And then finally, just with Train, again, we can't say enough good things about Train, but also, too, with Mary and Kurt looking at that 7.1 for that energy bond took, I don't know how many, but over $1 million for sure, from the Safe Warm Dry bond and put it into $5 million. Do I hear 6? $5 million was able to be moved from the Safe Warm Dry bond into the Train Energy bond, thus freeing up $5 million additional work with the Safe Warm Dry bond. So we really, we're conscientious of the taxpayers' money, And they did a great job of identifying all of those areas that we could move the funding around and really stretch our dollars through both of those funds. And what a great testament that we're already seeing, above guaranteed savings from the train bond. So just thank you to both of you and to Train.
You all set?
Yep.
Anything from the board?
I had a comment and a question. One is, I would formally say yes to the therapy dog that you mentioned. I think kids would probably really dig that. And maybe staff as well. My daughter and I we were so excited about this, we had a conversation about it. We were thinking, what about the idea of cats? And then after a while we decided, maybe not. But anyway, I think it's a great idea. And then my question really is really directed to Stacy. I was wondering if you had any other impressions or comments based on the instructional rounds that we read about in your update. I thought that was a very interesting activity. I was wondering if you had anything else.
And I just provided them with, we went in teams of 3 and just spent some time in the classrooms and made observations of what the teacher was doing, those questions that we used. So.
Yeah, overall. Stacey, do you mind just hopping up just so everyone can hear? Thank you.
Yeah, overall, I think all the kids were really engaged in the instruction. The teachers had really some creative activities throughout all the classes, and most of the kids could answer the questions that we provided. So it was just a really neat experience to go and fill our buckets with some kid time, doing some observations and seeing some really good learning take place.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And one of the activities, students working on spelling words. So.
Oh,
yes. So I don't have an official answer for everything, but
yeah, that's great. Thank you.
While you're on the topic of busing, I know at one of our retreat, you mentioned there were some new hires working their way through the funnel. Is that still ongoing, or is it kind of just go back to the busing a little bit?
Yeah, we do 3, correct? That are making their way through the training. And the training is 6 weeks-ish. Yeah. So
okay.
We've got, and they would be taking the sub positions, correct? Yeah, so relief bus drivers, which will help, back up our drivers. We are staffed with the regular route drivers. It's when we have to start filling those gaps. So unfortunately, it's not you're hired and now you're behind the wheel, which I think we can all agree is a good thing. They got to go through training and it takes some time. So hopefully they make it all the way through that process and we start to see some relief soon.
You want to explain for the record just kind of why the other staffing vacancies at transportation impact than the lack of?
Yeah, thanks. So dispatchers, mechanics, they are also drivers. And so in the past, when we had a full round of dispatchers and mechanics, they would be able to go out on those routes and act as substitutes, relief drivers as well. Having 2 of them resign and we're down mechanics as well, that pool of relief drivers is greatly diminished.
Do you want to speak a little bit on, I think Mr. Fitzpatrick commented on maybe a social media post about this, but why we can't just say, well, Wilson's gotten hit so hard, why can we not help out Wilson and take a driver from, Besser or something?
Yep. So the bus drivers do bid on their routes, which means they select those routes. And then if we were to take a driver and move them off of their scheduled route or bidded route, we'd have to rebid all of the routes and have everyone give their, have their chance to pick up those routes. So on a longer term, that might work, but when you're doing that daily, it's just not possible to do that. So the relief drivers slide in where those routes are uncovered, but we're not able to. Unfortunately, it comes down to the individual, and when they're out, and we are limited in what we can do.
The staff survey, Raymond, do we have an update on that?
We do. So I got a quote, and it is a high quote. So I met with Samantha last week, and we are going back and forth on whether we can achieve the same goal for free with some well-placed questions. So I just need to go back to Raymond and see. November was the time we did the staff morale survey last year, so we're hoping to get it out here in the next couple of weeks. Raymond was ready to go. It was probably a short meeting with them to finalize the questions, but it does come at a significant cost. So.
Can you share that with the cost?
Sure. It was around $15,000. Yeah. Was it 17? Yeah, there was a $1,000 first year fee or something like that. So yeah, 17,000 total.
Do we have any idea what maybe other districts do in terms of, because obviously it's an important piece to get to our staff, and the feedback from last year, it seemed like people felt that Google Docs are just maybe not the most confidential or anonymous, even though maybe they say they are. You feel like if you're logging into it maybe with your email, that doesn't feel like it. So do we have any idea what other districts maybe do to survey morale of staff? And
yeah, locally I haven't heard of anyone doing that. Your larger districts would probably go with a Raymond or someone the equivalent of that.
I would think that most of them would, if a third party is conducting anything of that nature, it's always going to come at a cost. Yeah. It's not ever going to be free if there's a third party involved in coordinating it.
Yeah.
It certainly wouldn't take many staff members to retain to make up for that cost.
I agree, absolutely. And, certainly if we do something, we may be able to get the essence, but we're not going to be able to get those comparisons that Raymond will be able to do for us to, like organizations, and, they can disaggregate the data in so many ways. That's where the cost comes in.
Personally, I wouldn't balk at that number. I mean, yeah, it's an expense, but the benefits could be really good.
Okay.
it might not be one of those things that you don't want to do every year, but considering, I don't think, have we ever done an outside source survey with the district as far as I know? We had.
Who's been here longer than that?
Well, look at Gordon.
I don't recall doing it with an outside firm, so.
So yeah, probably not one of those things you want to do every year, but if it's times are tough, how do we keep our staff? How do we make sure our staff is happy? What can we do to be a better district? It might be worth that expense, so.
Okay.
And maybe if it's an outside source, they'll feel more that it's confidential.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going back to your email, Eric brought up the dogs. Love the dogs too. I know there's quite a few school districts that do that, the support dogs. I follow on Instagram the therapy dogs at, I think, at Okemos High School. They have a couple of different dogs at different schools, and they all have their own Instagram account. You can follow what the dogs do over the course of their day, and it seems like a great thing for building morale and therapy and mental health. And you also mentioned in your email maybe utilizing some of the radio to interview you with the sports guys. And I actually think that's a phenomenal idea. Yeah. I know you do different, like whether it's writing in the newspaper or, the coffee talks that don't necessarily garnish a big audience. I think if there's the audience to, have a radio interview, it's just a different way to help inform and get the word out in different ways. So just because with everything, I feel like just like the busing, we learn the more you know, it's hard to fix the problem. You can't just pull bus drivers. And it's the same with you look at coaching. Like it's all a unique situation. Nothing is quite as easy as we'd hope it would be. So.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a point. I'm sorry if you were done. Okay. At our workshop, we discussed policy 7217, and it was pulled. It was not one of the ones that we did tonight. I just wanted to make sure that that is still on the upcoming agenda for review of all 4 of those. Okay, perfect. Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay, anything else? If not, we have closed session. We have a motion that the board meet in closed session under Section 8H of the Open Meeting Act to discuss an attorney-client communication.
So moved.
Support.
Any conversation?
Yep, we have it. We need a roll call for that.
Yep. You had, Gordon with support, yep, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I
Okay.
have that.
Okay, yes. Roll call for this one, please.
Okay, Member Fritz? Aye. Member Lawson?
Aye.
Member Parr?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Snow?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
We talked about there may potentially, if the board wishes.
Yeah, probably take action on what we meet about in closed sessions. There might be action afterwards, if you want to stick around. We're back in open session, and we do have a resolution that I will read. Whereas, 1, the district is a plaintiff in a lawsuit against Altria Group Incorporated, Altria, and other vaping product defendants, specifically case number 319MD2913-WHO in the United States District Court for the Northern District of California lawsuit. 2, certain lawsuit defendants established a court-supervised settlement program to resolve the lawsuit against them, settlement program, specifically Altria and Altria-related parties as identified in the settlement program. 3, the district previously accepted a settlement in the lawsuit pertaining to Juul Labs Incorporated, Juul, and Juul-related parties. Pursuant to the settlement program, the district may accept the gross settlement amount reflected in settlement documents received by the district, settlement amount, including in exchange for the district releasing its claims against Altria and Altria-related parties, the Altria defendants. 5, the Altria defendants are the last defendants remaining in the lawsuit. 6, if the district fails to accept the settlement amount and to sign settlement documents, its claims against the Altria defendants will continue, which may result in the district expending significant time and cost pursuing its claims, and which may result in no recovery from the Altria defendants. 7, the board believes that it is in the district's best interest to accept the settlement amount and to authorize and direct the district superintendent or designee to sign settlement documents pertaining to the Altria defendants on behalf of the district and to take such other action as necessary to obtain the settlement amount and to settle the lawsuit against the Altria defendants, subject to review and approval by the district's legal counsel. Now, therefore, be it resolved that, 1, the board accepts the settlement amount. 2, the board authorizes and directs the district superintendent or designee to sign lawsuit settlement documents pertaining to the Altria defendants on behalf of the district and to take such other action as necessary to obtain the settlement amount and to settle the lawsuit against the Altria defendants, subject to review and approval by the district's legal counsel. 3, the board waives any applicable board policies and bylaws for purpose of the settlement. 4, all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. We would need a motion to accept this resolution, please.
I would move to accept the resolution as stated.
Support.
Either Stacy or Sarah. Roll call. Jeff will do roll call. Any further conversations? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Member Lawson?
Aye.
Member Parr?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Snow?
Aye.
Member Fritz? Aye. Member Meinhardt?
Aye. Okay, thank you. In your advanced planning section, we have parent-teacher conferences coming up. Thank you to families who participate in those and for teachers who put in the extra hours for those. November 13th, we will have our board workshop at the boardroom. November 15th, no school for Fall Family Day. November 22nd through the 24th, no school. Notice it's a longer Thanksgiving break this year. Yep. Extra day. And November 27th, our regular board meeting, 5:30 at Thunder Bay Junior High, and we will adjourn.
Thank you all.
I know.